guys, my name is Matt. Today marks about 1 year of me owning my 350Z. This is a 07 350Z, so I do have the HR. I've owned it for a little bit over a year now, and I am 6'5", so I'm a very tall person to be driving this car. This car has been really great. We're gonna do a little overview of the things I've noticed in the past year that I have owned this. All right, well, here she is, my 07 350Z. So I've owned this car for about a little bit more than a year now. I bought it back, I think August 14th, 2023 is when I bought it exactly. I've done a few things to it, although I've kept it mostly stock because I wanted to enjoy the near stock experience of the 350, honestly. When I bought this car, this car, it wasn't completely stock. The one thing that it did have was the coilovers, which I've since been replaced by BC Racings. I'll get into that in a minute. And I've also just done a lot of maintenance mods, or maintenance, I guess, preventative maintenance. One of the biggest things I've done is, and let me go ahead and open up the hood. All right, so as you guys may know, so the HR engine is a very, very good engine. It's known for not burning oil, even though this one sort of is, because the valve covers are starting to go out, especially on this bank right here, on the left bank, passenger side bank. But the one thing that you got to worry about on these motors is the gallery gaskets, the oil gallery gaskets, which are about right here in the motor. Now I did the gallery gaskets, I attempted to at least. So I took all the reservoir out, the condenser, radiator. I actually didn't even pull off the whole front end. I just took off the bumpers, and I did take out the headlights. But I ended up screwing it up. I did screw up and strip some of the bolts, and I did mess up the water pump because I also replaced the water pump as well, since these water pumps on these motors are internal. But I did take it to a shop and get that all fixed. And now, of course, it's fine now. Other things I've done maintenance-wise is when I first got the car, the brake fluid and clutch reservoir was pretty nasty, the fluids. I've since flushed them and changed them. Now, this car, or actually, I could say the 07 and up transmissions on these, they have an internal slave cylinder, which really kind of sucks, because if the slave cylinder does go bad or starts to go bad, which this one sort of was, you do have to pull the whole trans out. Now, I decided I was not going to, leave it the internal slave cylinder. I was going to relocate it. So I bought the CMAC kit for it, and I also bought a stage 2 clutch with a light and flywheel. It was all one kit that Z-Speed did sell, or does still sell on their website. So I bought that, and that I replaced probably 5-6 months into ownership. I had SoCal Z do all the work. I do live in Vegas, so it wasn't too far of a drive for me. That's the major two things I've done to the car so far. Besides that, everything's stock. If you look in the engine bay, besides the Nismo caps, air filters are stock. Everything's stock. Radiator, it was replaced from the previous owner, but other than that, it's stock. I mean, this car, and honestly, I really don't see modifying it really anytime soon. I am so happy with the power of this car. I grew up with cars less than 200 horsepower. This is my first car with more than 200 horsepower. All right, so as you may have noticed, you see this bumper right here? This is one of the unfortunate things of the exterior, and as well as the faded paint. This paint color is actually pretty rare. It's a San Bernardino blue, that's what it's called. Now, the G35s have a similar color. Actually, it's the same color code, but it's called something else on the G35s. This is a beautiful paint color, though. It's a nice pearl. You can kind of see the actual pearl doing its job right here in on the fenders, and that's how it's supposed to look. But that is, it's a pretty rare color. I mean, I think there's only about 2,100 of them made. I sound like a Corvette owner saying that, but it's honestly still pretty cool to know that you got one of the rare paint colors. And I didn't even realize this color existed until I saw the car for sale. So going back to this, I bought the car with the bumper like this. Now the fenders are all rolled, and the previous owner told me when he rolled the fenders, because he had bigger wheels on this, he messed up and put a crack on the side of the bumper right here, and it just made it completely worse and cracked it all the way to here. That's what he told me. Although it seems like these bumpers actually, I wouldn't say it's common, but I have seen a couple other 350Zs do the same thing. I have a friend that his is just like this, except on the other side. And what he's done, he said he couldn't even plastic weld it because it broke after a couple weeks. He just zip tied it. I'm gonna go ahead and say a few of my favorite things about this car. One, this car is a base model. So it's kind of a pro and con. The pros about, the base model is that this car, you don't have to worry about VDC or traction control. Now, Nissan and the 350 and the 370 that have traction control, and of course all the 370s had traction control. There was no trim that you didn't have traction control on the 370. Even if you turn off traction control all the way, it's still on by 20% or something like that, and it still kicks in the higher gears and when you're going fast, which is super annoying if you want to go sliding or if you want to drive, go on the track and not have to worry about the electronics kicking in. That was one reason why I chose to go after a base model. Another reason why I chose to go after a base model is because of the cloth seats. Now, base models are not the only trim that had these seats, of course, but these seats, since I am 6'5", I actually do sit lower in these seats. Not low enough to where I could sit perfectly straight up without hitting my head over the big bumps. However, it is still low enough to where I feel comfortable driving the car for a little bit. But another thing that's really good about the base model, I'm gonna go ahead and take my key out of here, get that annoying beep, is it's very stripped down. So that could be a good or bad thing depending on how you look at it. For me, I look at it as this car is the lightest 350Z, this configuration right here. Manual base, this is the lightest you can get. And that's because this car doesn't have side current airbags, doesn't have traction control, and it also doesn't have cruise control, or the higher end models had had a speaker behind the driver's seat, the Bose audio system. This car does not have, and even if it did have it, this car does have an aftermarket stereo system installed by the previous owner. Okay, so let me go ahead and go to some of the cons of having this car, being this tall, being only 21 years old, 6'5", I guess. So one thing is you'll hit your head if you don't have bucket seats. Now, I chose not to have bucket seats at the moment because I want to buy a wheel and a harness. I do want to buy all that at the same time, which of course is expensive. And another thing that is kind of on this particular Z is that the exhaust does have an exhaust leak. This is the original exhaust, besides there being no resonator, and it does have a leak right past the muffler right here, this big old chunky thing right here. And this also has the open differential, since it is the base model, and the pinion seal that the axle goes to the differential, that seal that connects it to is leaking. So every time you drive this car, it does throw a little bit of diff fluid at the muffler, which sucks. However, I do have a LSD or VLSD that came out of a enthusiast model that I do have. I'm just waiting on getting an exhaust for it, which I do plan on getting an NVIDIA Gemini and putting that on this car. Now, going on in the interior, these cars are known for their door hinges not staying open, which this one does. That's not broken. It was replaced by the previous owner. He told me that he replaced it not too long ago. I think it was like 2 years before he sold the car to me that he replaced that. Also, the scratchiness on the center console, and of course the door vent things right here, and also these window switch controls. They do get scratched up, but this has been painted, and pretty much it's all stock in here. And I'll go and start it up while I'm inside the car. And again, right above 122,000 miles. And again, gotta love that HR RPM gauge going up to 7,500. And then of course the only thing that's changed on this car is the radio. This car actually used to have a really good sound system in it, and unfortunately the previous owner took it out. You guys want the full story about this car, which is a very lengthy story before I had it. Let me know if you want to know the story. But it's pretty much stock, like I said. Stock shifter, stock throws, which are fine to me. You know, I actually really like the throws. Of course, got no heated seats, so you got the blank switch right here. And no glove box, because the glove box is behind the seat, as well as these little 2 doors. And since I don't have a nav, I do have another storage bin. Yeah, before I get into my thoughts on owning this car for a year and what it's taught me, let me just go ahead and show you around this car and how clean of an example this car is. This car, when I bought it, had 116,000 miles a year ago. This car just passed over 122. I haven't driven it a lot because I do have a daily driver, and also, you know, I work in a shop, and my shop's about a 25-minute drive. So, you know, I drive my other car a lot, which is a Toyota Camry, because it's just more practical. It's also gets better gas mileage, and I can relax in it a little bit more because there is more space, of course, in the Camry. You guys like my license plate? This car right now, the work I had to do. So when I got this car, it came with K-Sport coilovers. Now this car has true coilovers on it. This car does not have just a regular coilover system. If we go underneath, you'll see that spring, the little spring holder right there, the hat or whatever you want to call it. There's no spring in there because this car has a true coilover system installed, and that's how it was when I got it. However, when I put this car in the lift a couple weeks later, I noticed the driver's rear, and I'll put a picture. The spring was actually like broken. So that night I actually ordered these BCBR series coilovers, and they're really good. I really like them for a starter coilover. I actually did want Fortunatos, but I'm very happy that I saved a little bit of money on these BCBRs. Very happy about that. So what are my final thoughts on my 350Z? I absolutely love this car. This is the best car I've ever bought so far, and I am never going to get rid of this car. This car, I honestly sometimes can't believe I own this car sometimes, even after it's been a year. This car is amazing. Even when I go sliding, which this spot is definitely known for, but however, there's a lot of security here. And I did talk to the security, and I told them, hey, I'm doing a car review, because they see a car like this and they think you're gonna do donuts. And I'm like, no, I'm just doing a little video on this. And they're like, okay. So they're literally watching me right now as I film this. The one thing I really do need to get is a new exhaust, because that exhaust leak in one of the hangers is also loose and broken, sorta. So on cold starts, this car does kind of like rattle and squeal a bit. And it's nothing with the engine, it's so weird. It's something with the exhaust. But it's going to be replaced here very soon. Gotta love these HR taillights. And it's not even the HR taillights, it's the 06 and up. Overall, should you buy one of these? Yes. If you're 6'5" and shorter, you'll fit in this car, don't worry. Now if you're 6'5" and you're looking at one with leather seats, I don't think you'll fit in it as good as one with cloth seats. So if you're 6'4" 6'3" to 6'5" or even 6'2" with a tall body, I would look into one with getting cloth seats, just because you'll fit into it better. And I honestly wouldn't recommend one of these as your first car unless you have some experience driving stick and having a rear wheel drive car. If you do want to get a 350Z as your first car, I would recommend getting one with traction control, because these cars are very easy to slide and spin out if you don't want them to. These have so much low end torque that these cars will slide, and if you don't know what you're doing, they will spin out and you could crash into somebody else or run off the road. All right, you guys, thank you guys for watching my video. It's just kind of a little video about my 350Z, and because, you know, I've had this car for a year now, I thought I'd finally show you guys, and just some pros and cons and what it's like driving this car being 6'5". Alrighty guys, thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate if you guys do like, subscribe, and just say anything that you like about the 350Z, or even comment your dream car down below. That would be awesome to hear and read your comments.